In the world where globalization process has already covered all fields of the life and information technologies are developing with incredible speed, the knowledge of English has become the primary task for a person who wants to make his life more diverse. Today there are many methods and ways to master English. You can download educational programs on your computer and smartphone. You can start to communicate with people from different countries on global social networks. But there is one category that can provide comfort, relaxation, and can make you forget about learning process itself. The name of this way of learning English is video games. The purpose of this research work is to determine how the gameplay assists in learning English and describe advantages and disadvantages of this method of education. The urgency of this research work is that video games are considered to be a tool for learning English and the fact that this English learning method is still poorly known. In the past, video games were school-age children entertainment, but nowadays they attract not only teenagers, but also adults because of graphics improvement, improved game mechanics, complex game plot, and genres diversity. If you compare video games with school or university training, you will understand that video games are like more on interactive talks, where only you appreciate your knowledge skills. There is a personal interest for result achievement in playing video games. We would like to present you only 3 kinds of them, which we suppose can help you to start learning English. It's a single-player game, hot seat split-screen game, and massively multiplayer online game. As for single-player games, this game oriented on the story is probably a convenient tool for learning English. It is very important for a good plot-oriented game to create immersive effect when you as a player can associate yourself with the main character and watch the process with a great interest. You immediately have the motivation to understand what is going on the screen, so you start to learn English faster. Let's take a look at an example. In Persona 5 your communication skills really play important role, so this game will help you to find new friends who can help you in your journey on the game. As for advantages, they are slow game speed, large vocabulary expansion, easier complex sentences perception, the visual part that can help a gamer to understand the meaning of the words and phrases. As for the main disadvantage of this game, it is lack of communication skill development. To our mind, it is the easiest way to learn English. Let's go to the second kind of the games, hot seat split screen games. It is important to understand immediately what your partner is doing to keep advantage in this kind of a game. These games can afford you to answer quickly with short sentences. Let's take a look at this game. Keep talking and nobody explodes. That is a game where one player takes role as a sapper and the one tries to explain how to defuse a bomb. As for advantage, it is spoken English expansion. As for disadvantages, we think that they are: vocabulary is not expanded, high speed of the game, misunderstanding partner's speech can affect not only on the success of the game, but also on the learning process, no result, no progress. In our opinion, it is the simplest kind of a game. It requires only the basic English level. Let's go to the third category, massively multiplayer online games. In these online net games, you have to test your communication skills in English, because you need to communicate with other players and need to make allies to achieve the goal and make a progress and not to be tortured. There are some massively multiplayer games where you only have to talk between players. For example, VR chat can be considered as a training session before you start to communicate with a real native English speaker. As for advantage, it is communication with native speakers. As for disadvantage of this game, it is that vocabulary is not expanded. This game will be difficult for gamers who have poor English level, so our thought is that the communication English skills and sound perception are of great importance here. Recently we have asked the freshmen of 3 groups to determine the possibility to use a video game as a tool for learning English. There were 27 respondents and 7 questions. Look at the list of questions. Is English important today? Are you learning English now? Do you play video games in English? Does a video game distract you from school or university? Have you chatted with native speakers playing online? Can you learn English playing video games? Do you really feel you have improved English playing video games? And now let's start to analyze the given answers. As for the first question, is English important today? 88.5% said yes, 3.8% said no, and 7.7% say they don't know. As for the second question, are you learning English now? 73.1% said yes, 7.7% say they don't have time, 3.8% said it's too complex, 3.8% said it's too boring, and 11.5% say they are planning to do it. As for the third question, do you play video games in English? 38.5% say they often play, 34.6% say they sometimes play, 19.2% say they seldom play, and 7.7% said no. As for the fourth question, does a video game distract you from school or university? 50% are not addicted by a game, 34.6% say they only sometimes distracted by a game, but it's not a problem, and 15.4% are addicted by a game. As for the fifth question, have you chatted with native speakers playing online? 23.1% said yes often, 30.8% said yes sometimes, 7.7% said yes seldom, and 38.5% said no. As for the sixth question, can you learn English playing video games? 76.9% said yes, 11.5% said no, and 11.5% say they don't know. As for the seventh question, do you really feel you have improved English playing video games? 34.6% said they have really started to understand it, 53.8% said yes maybe, and 11.5% said no. So, summing up, we should say that video games can be a tool for learning English because of effectiveness and the quantity of gamers. Learning English can be great fun if you play. One has only to start playing it, and one shouldn't be afraid of English.
And the rest is silence.